Hey everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Artisan Pirate here, and in today's hopefully fun video for you guys, I am going to be attempting to make a copy and make additional versions of a little simplistic birdhouse that I picked up at a thrift store a couple weeks ago. Now, me and my mom went to the thrift store, and while she was looking around at stuff, I went to the other side of the store, and I happened upon this very simplistic birdhouse here. Spring has officially sprung here in 2025, and it was marked $5 as US currency, and I picked it up, and I was kind of looking at it and I was like, hey, this is very simplistic construction. It's basic butt joints. There's not a lot of creative curves or artistic style on it. Just a very basic rustic birdhouse, and here it is again, $5 as US currency, so I happily picked it up. I know my mom loves seeing the birds come back each and every spring. She's constantly throwing little pieces of bread out for them to come in, and then she'll stand at the window and see them and everything, just kind in that nature. And I wanted to make some additional birdhouses to hang around for her, to where she could potentially get birds living, by the front porch and everything, by the bird bath, to where there would be constant visitors. So please keep in mind, in this video, I'm not making a copy of this birdhouse to mass produce, to sell, or make a profit on. I'm just making some copies of it to where I can hang them around for my mom, and she can have a lot of bird friends visiting. So again, very simplistic construction, and what really drew my mind and my eye to this project was the little clever design for the front door, so to speak. Here you have this little lever here, and I'm going to have to find something to represent that out here in the workshop in some way, but you can turn it and you can open and close the front door to clean it out year after year, to make sure it's nice and clean for potential new birds to come in and out each and every year. It has two little screws there on either side of it to allow for the door to pivot, and then again it locks. It has little angles cut in the base here to allow for drainage, so to speak. You don't want anything being contained in there while the birds are nesting and potentially laying eggs and raising a little bird family and everything. But I felt for $5 I would give it a go, and if it doesn't work out, I still have the original one here to hang up for my mom. What I did was went to the local builder's discount store and picked up more of the Cedar Fence Pickets. Now, these are very rough cut. They were very wet and green when I picked them up. I had to go through the pile, and I picked up 3 of them that I felt would do the job here. Again, they are very rough cut, and I was originally going to run them through the thickness planer to get them nice and smooth. But when I posted kind of like an idea on social media, people was like, why are you going to smooth them out? Leave them kind of rustic, because that is a cool vibe a lot of people like. So I think for some of them I'm going to leave the boards as is, just cut them to the proper dimensions. Again, I've used these in previous videos for Christmas time, where we made some small Christmas projects out of basic Cedar Fence Pickets. At the time, they were on sale for $1.50, that's US currency. Now they are at regular price, and that's $2.50 US currency. But I got 3 of them, so 2, 4, 6, about $8 here in some material. Again, they are 6 foot tall. But what I want to do, again, is get a copy of the pattern to make additional ones later on down the road. So I also have a piece of basic construction paper here, poster board, so to speak, and it is of a nice quality. You can usually pick it up for around $1 or less than $1 in my area. Most craft stores carry poster board craft paper. So I want to lay the pattern out and mark what everything is, and then I can put that in like a bag or a file folder and store it away for future use. But I felt it might be a cool idea to bring you guys along for the journey. Again, I'm not mass producing these for any kind of profit or to turn around and sell them, just making some additional ones to have on hand and hang around for the springtime. So I hope you all enjoy this video as we make some birdhouses. And we are going to begin by ripping down one of the Cedar Fence Pickets to the proper dimension. I'll set my rip fence with the birdhouse itself to get the proper width, and I'll run one of the Cedar Fence Pickets through the table saw. I don't have to cut much material off of it, but I'll discard of that waste wood, and then I'll take our original birdhouse here that we are going by, and I will partially disassemble it so we can trace out all of the pieces and get a pattern. And I'm going to trace all of the pieces out on a basic piece of poster board that can be picked up at most dollar stores or craft stores. Again, I picked up the original birdhouse we are tracing here at a local thrift store for around $5 US currency. And as I trace all of the pieces out, I'm marking like where a screw needs to go or a hole needs to be drilled and how many of each piece is needed. But it didn't take me long to do this, and off camera I cut all of the pieces out, and then it was time to trace the pieces out onto our material. And of course I will keep the patterns here to where I can make more birdhouses if I want to in the future. But as you can see, one individual birdhouse doesn't take up much material, but I will start cutting it down to size. Here I'm using my Craftsman jigsaw just to break up that 6-foot length to where I can then take it over to the table saw to do the cross cuts. But once I have the miter gauge in there, we will do our cross cuts real quick, cutting everything to the proper dimension here. And then I will step over to the bandsaw to complete the rest of the cuts, the angle that is required for the birdhouse roof and things like that. The front of the birdhouse is also smaller, so I ripped it down to size as well over here on the bandsaw, and I cut the notches in the base that allows for drainage. And then after drilling a pilot hole, I went over to the scroll saw and I cut out the circle that makes up the hole where the little birdies can come and go as they please. Of course, you could do this cut here with a Forstner bit or a butterfly bit, but I did want to do a bit of scroll saw work on the project. And over here at the belt sander, I'm putting the bevel on the roofs of the birdhouse. And ultimately for today's video, I'm making 2 birdhouses. But once the bevel was done, it was time to begin assembly, and I charged up the small air compressor and got the brad nailer out and put brad nails in it. And I'm getting all of my pieces together here. And you know, it's always kind of funny. You kind of learn on the go for the first one you make, but then you become more familiar with the process, and then the rest of them will go together more smoothly. If you guys like what you're seeing, I would highly encourage you to subscribe to my channel and also follow me across all my social media feeds under the Artisan Pirate name. I'd really appreciate the support. But as you can see, I still have that original birdhouse on the workbench to go by. And here I am assembling the second birdhouse, and even though the footage is sped up, you can tell that I'm more familiar with the process and assembling it a lot quicker. But then it will be time to get ready to put the fronts of the birdhouse on, and I had to go hunt for some screws that would be the proper length. And I got out my drill to drill the hole where it was needed to where the door could pivot to open and close. And once I got them screwed in place, the birdhouses were pretty much complete. And I went ahead and put the door and the roof back on the original birdhouse we got the pattern from. And for the pivot on the door, it needs a latch, so I took some basic coffee cup hooks that you can pick up in bulk, and I bent them to shape, and I cut off the excess to make for the little hook that would lock the door to where you can open and close it after each season to remove the old nest and everything. But they simply screwed in place. Nice little pivot motion there. But once they were screwed in, the birdhouses were pretty much complete. I just felt it would be an appropriate time of year to make a couple of birdhouses, and I'm really happy with how they came out. And here we have the completed simplistic birdhouse designs cut out of basic cedar fence pickets that are readily available in my area at least, and I think they finished up amazingly well. Really cool and creative designs. Here are the two that we made in today's video. I started out with just wanting to make one, but after I had pretty much got one made, I wanted to see how long it would take me to make one without having to drag the camera around to, you know, like the table saw, the scroll saw, the sander, the bandsaw, because that takes time to set up the camera, and if I didn't have to be concerned with filming, it would take me around 10 to 15 minutes to cut everything out and put it together with the brad nailer and everything. So a project that doesn't take entirely too long to make as long as you have the material on hand. Really cool here. Again, at the beginning of the video, I told you I had picked up a basic simplistic birdhouse design from the local thrift store that's here in the area, and it was $5. That is US currency, and I was just really drawn to the design and the simplistic nature to it. It's just basic butt joints to assemble everything. I assembled it with the brad nailer and the air compressor, and again, just drawn to that little feature there to where you can clean it out each and every season. After the birds fly south for the winter, you can clean it out and get it ready for the following spring. So once I picked it up, I was happy to make some more of them. And as I said at the beginning of the video, I'm not making these to mass produce, to make a penny, a profit, sell them online or anything like that. I would like to make maybe a few more to give to family, friends, and loved ones, you know, so they can have bird visitors each and every spring that come around. But I took that birdhouse partially apart, and we got a pattern for it out of some basic poster board, you know, that again is readily available. I marked everything clearly. There is the roof and where you need to bevel it, the sides with the angle to allow the water to drain off of it, and I've got ×2 so I know how many to make. We have the bottom here with those angles to allow for drainage. We have the front there, and I've got it marked where you put the 2 screws in to allow the door to pivot. And then you, of course, have the back here. So now I can put this in a Ziploc baggie. I can put it in a file folder and store it away. And anytime I want to make one, or I have extra material on hand to make one, and I have some free time, you know, I can, of course, make some more of them. Again, I want it stated, not for a penny or a profit, because I don't know whose original design this original birdhouse here is. It does have this stamp or laser engraved logo on the front that says Wild Wings with a little bird on it there, so I guess credit to them for this original design here that I got. But again, I got it at a thrift store, so kind of aftermarket, so to speak. And then here are the two that we made today, and because they are made out of cedar, supposedly that's what the fence pickets are, that's what's marked on the pack where they are displayed and everything, and you have to go through them. Cedar does resist a lot of rot and, you know, decomposing and things like that. So these will last hopefully a few seasons, and if not, I'm not going to really be concerned with it, because the cedar fence pickets in my area was only $2.50. That is US currency. I can occasionally catch them on sale for $1.50. That is again US currency. So, you know, I only have a couple bucks, you know, invested in this whole project. And the little hook that I used here, like is on the original one, is basic coffee mug hooks, you know, where you would put coffee mugs, hang them up to display them or something like that. I bent them, they're a soft metal, I bent them straight and bent them back, you know, and there is our little pivot action to open and close the doors and everything. But again, everything is assembled with basic butt joints. I'm going to drill some holes at the top here. I might or might not put a little perch here. The one I originally went by did not have a little perch on it. I do have some pieces of dowel rods floating around where the birds can land to safely go in and out of the house. But again, I was happy to make these for my mom because she enjoys seeing the wildlife come back to town each and every year. You know, they fly south for the winter, they come back in the spring once the weather breaks, and they are always looking for a place to build nest and everything. I've seen them build nest in just really weird and off the wall places. So now they have 2 little condos here, so to speak. 3 if I hang up the original one there, which I probably will. I'll probably hang them like this, you know, one here, one on the bottom, just for a nice display aesthetic. And of course, if you wanted to make birdhouses out of exotic or hardwoods, you can. But again, because it's made out of cedar and it resists rot a lot, I do not have to add any additional paint, stains, clear coats, especially like lacquers or polyurethanes or Rust-Oleum clear gloss or things like that, because birds do not like that aroma that they put off. It's a bad smell to them, so to speak. So I'm just going to leave them natural, and if they last one season, cool. If they last 2, 3, 4 seasons, also really cool, and that would be totally awesome. But I hope this video inspires you guys to maybe get out in your garage or workshops and go and try to make some simplistic birdhouses designs as I have in today's video. And hopefully along today's video from start to finish, you guys picked up hopefully a tip, trick, or tidbit along the way. But really cool. I'm going to once again hold up the original one that I started today's video with. Again, it had been sitting out in the workshop for a couple weeks, and I finally went and got the Cedar Fence Pickets, and they were wet, they were green, and I had to let them dry in a corner of the workshop for around a week or so, and then it was time to try making them, and today's video is the result of that process. But I hope you all enjoyed the video. I had a lot of fun making it and bringing it to the platform for you guys. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you'll click that subscribe button and follow me across all my social media feeds under the Artisan Pirate name. As always, links to contact me as well as all my social media feeds will always be linked down in the description box below these videos. That's about all for this one, and remember guys, if I can make it or do it, so can you guys. I'm the Artisan Pirate. Take care, and I'll see you guys real soon.